There's conversations in lots of newsrooms about how to apply the technology, how to use these tools. I think you mentioned earlier editorial guidelines at SmartNews. What about the information, Paris? Information covers tech, so it's experiencing this very up close, this AI revolution. Do you all? Is there a committee? Or are there meetings talking about how to use Gen AI in that kind of way?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We cover OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, so we have kind of a different approach to it. Yep. Often what we're talking about and reporting on is the business behind the business, which adds kind of an extra level to it. But I suppose when we're talking about the use of this in the newsroom, largely we try to stay away from it in terms of reporting just because it's not particularly useful on our day-to-day, other than, I guess, what you guys are talking about kind of having a conversation with yourself using this technology. There have been a couple of examples in terms of our business and technology team, for instance. I guess some sort of issue with how we are trying to increase our SEO on certain topic pages. If you have a topic for, say, Amazon or Google that lists all of our articles related to that, previously, for each topic, you'd have to have a reporter or an editor write some copy, a paragraph or two about Google or Amazon to make sure that page was indexed by Google search. Right. Now we're using ChatGPT and then have an editor look over it, correct any mistakes, and publish it. So I think that's the one kind of use case that we are seeing on a day-to-day basis.
And I think that's one of the big hopes here, is that the drudgery, the most rote versions of work in media or other fields will be the ones that'll be replaced by the robots that can do it more efficiently.
One area where we've talked about it, but we haven't kind of actually put anything together, is a big part of journalism is trying to come up with a good headline for things. It's hard. I'm terrible at it. There are some editors that are good at it. We've thought about kind of putting essentially our articles before they go out through something like ChatGPT and having them pitch a headline based on our past headlines. Obviously, it wouldn't be the headline that de facto goes in the article, but maybe your editor could look at 3 and be inspired.
Yeah, up until now, that's been known as A/B testing, where you'll try out 2 headlines and see which one performs better with users. Theoretically, you can now A, B, C, D, E, F, G all the way down.
Yeah.
All the time, 24/7.
Yeah.
Chris?
Headlines, ChatGPT is good at producing lots of different headlines, and sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're really bad. And so that's why Paul is saying, you have to have expertise to make the output from ChatGPT useful to you. It's similar. I think the question about, you're saying that the use case and the information is it's kind of basic and it's not journalistic specifically. Mm-hmm. And I think that's similar to how we're approaching it, because once you get to the question of doing something journalistic, you're on thin ice, or you're getting into really tricky territory, because journalists pride themselves on truth and accuracy and all those things. And so if you're using AI to put something out that's supposed to be true and accurate, and you're not totally sure if it is, then you're putting your entire business at risk. So I think that's a huge question. We're struggling with it at SmartNews. We are experimenting with things like headlines, or summarizing stories that are trending in the app. We're testing to see if ChatGPT can summarize them, and then you can show lots of different versions of that article to people. But there's so many questions that come with something like that, how do we verify that it's actually doing a good job and not making something up? And all these questions are really, I think, at the crux of this issue.
And I think this goes back to the point you were making earlier of that these tools inherently are designed to mimic human speech in a way that is convincing. They're designed to create sentences that mimic the patterns of many sentences before and look accurate. So it makes it very difficult then, if you're an editor who's 2 levels removed from whatever the subject matter, you're like, this seems right. I probably don't need to fact check every part of this sentence. And then you get in trouble.
Yeah. But what I would say is ChatGPT is only one tool. There's actually numerous sort of AI generative tool out there. So for example, there's Excel GPT. It's sometimes I just I don't remember how to do a pivot table anymore. I haven't done one for a while. But you could use AI to do that, right? And math is crucial for investigative journalism, right? Knowing how to look at data and analyze it in different ways is really crucial. So I would say it's not just ChatGPT, but there's all these other tools. I use this other tool, PDF.ai, because when I'm reading documents that are hundreds of pages, normally like people have to in the old days, like you literally have to read page by page, right? Now you could actually use a tool to ask like interactive questions. And what I like about some of these tools is if you ask the question really smartly, it will tell you the answer, and some of the tools will tell you like, here's the page that is, that the answer is in. So I would say like, look at it as a research enhancement tool to make you do things more effective and efficient, but it's not gonna do the work for you.